What's up? It's your boy Smith, and we're back for another video. God. Can never get the intro right sometimes. I don't know. Dyslexia. But then again, a lot of these videos that I just be starting to be like session back and forth. Even I'm trying to sit down and record more often just so I can, actually have more I have like so many videos in my reaction. Like just they're not even reaction requests because I knocked most of the reaction requests out of the way. I think there's literally like one more right now. But just things that I actually feel like I would be interested in watching on, here and just reacting to in general. So I want to start chopping down that list. So today we got the psychology of people who are too aware. Now, I know y'all are my aware people out here. If you're like me, I know that's not a very humble thing. Well, I guess where you ask for your awareness, saying like being a double-edged sword, like being too aware can be good and bad. Quite honestly, like there's, like they said, it's people who are too aware of some things can I was trying to remember the quote, bro. You can always have too much of a good. You can. I guess the quote is just like you can never have too much, but like at the end of the day, it's just like you can have too much, like overfilling, more than the capacity of a person that can hold that to the point where it just starts leaking out. Yeah, so I feel like I'm a very aware person. As a person who has studied his environment coming up through high school, I didn't really talk to nobody. I ain't gonna lie, I guess you could say I was a loner, but at the same time, it was genuinely because I just probably felt more mature than majority of the people like in my class. Less because, they were like dumb or ignorant or anything like that. More because I just had to deal with more shit that a kid probably shouldn't have been dealing with at my age. But hey, you live and you learn. My arm. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but I'm interested to see the psychology behind all of it, especially being somebody who wants to jump back into the field to be a psychologist, maybe some point in time, or at the least be able to get as much knowledge about how the brain works behind, anything, the psychology behind anything, the thought process behind it, what it takes for the brain. It's more like a formula, if anything, but like we're not breaking down equations. Fuck math. You ever looked up like the bases of quantum mechanics and general relativity? That's a lot of math. That's some weird symbols and shit. Like, I ain't doing all that. Let's go ahead and get to the video. Like, people who are too aware. I'm interested. I want to see how many of these things I can actually relate to, quite honestly.
There is a certain kind of person who is very strange. They walk into a room and almost instantly feel that something is off. No one is raising their voice. There's no drama, but their brain has already finished scanning everything. An avoided glance, a forced smile, a sentence that sounds normal, but is full of hidden fake energy. Many people think this kind of observation is a superpower, a wonderful gift. But the truth is, this sharp awareness is actually a psychological trap. The problem is that their brain has no off switch. They can't just enjoy the moment. They take it home, pick it apart, analyze it, and replay it in their head again and again. They are the kind of person who can turn one small silence into an entire universe of thoughts. But if you know someone like this, or if you are someone like this, you already know it isn't easy. Because hyper-awareness is not just an intelligence issue.
No.
It's about constantly seeing the hidden layers of meaning that other people walk right past without noticing.
Okay.
It can feel like a gift, but it is also a cruel burden that slowly drains all of your emotional energy. Today we are going to decode the psychology of people who are over-aware and how they can avoid being swallowed by their own mind. First, we have to dig into the origin of this sharp awareness.
Learn something new every day.
Why do some people become overly aware? Empirical psychology usually divides this phenomenon into two main groups. For the first group, this sensitivity is simply inborn. Science calls them highly sensitive persons.
Interesting.
HSP.
People
who
can be
carry
born.
the trait known as sensory processing sensitivity, SPS. Their nervous system, from the moment they are born, is like an ultra-fine filter that automatically absorbs and feels everything more intensely than usual.
Like an empath,
For them,
basically.
the world always appears in extremely high resolution.
Huh.
However, for the second group,
I didn't actually
over-awareness is
know.
not something they were born with.
Yeah.
It is an inheritance of survival. Neuroscience calls this state hypervigilance. It often takes root in an emotionally unstable.
So they have HSP and hypervigilance, which both end up to a level of awareness, but one is implemented from birth and one is trained. So now I'm interested as in, what it look like if both of those were in the same chemical, like if a person who actually was born with that, still had to go to learn any of those traits.
Environment in the past, most commonly during childhood. Imagine a child growing up in a house where the mood of the adults changes like the weather. That child cannot live innocently. They have to learn how to become a radar station.
Right.
They might have been the kind of child who memorized the sound of car tires rolling into the garage, just to know whether their father was coming home drunk or sober.
It's like that.
They learned to hear the sound of a kitchen cabinet slamming and measure how angry their mother was. They knew exactly when to step into the living room
Built-in homeostasis
and when
trauma.
to disappear quietly into the corner. Biologically speaking, their amygdala, the brain's danger alarm center, has been constantly activated. It records a message.
Triggers.
This environment
Literal
is
triggers.
not safe. I have
The
to keep
source
scanning
of
to
psychological
avoid danger.
trauma.
No one taught them this. Their nervous system automatically built a network of neurons to help them predict emotional disasters before they happen.
And that's what
over
you
time,
think is a
that
superpower.
survival vigilance transforms into awareness.
Right.
That awareness grows so deep that it becomes part of their identity. When they become adults, they often look back and blame themselves. Why do I always overthink? Something must be wrong with me. But no, they are not broken. They are simply carrying a kind of intelligence that was shaped by survival. The shield that once protected them has now fused into their skin. So when that shield, that massive awareness enters adult life, how does it actually show up?
Right.
Let's move to sign 1, living in constant analysis mode. This is the clearest sign and also the one that consumes the most energy.
Makes sense.
For a typical person, a
Watching everything.
conversation is just a conversation. But for them, the mind is always running a hidden equation. Take a real example. Their boss sends a message on Slack at 4 p.m. Come see me for a minute later.
Fuck Slack.
For other people, that's simply a meeting. But
For
for
some
them,
people,
the
I could
moment
probably
they
about
read
to
the
get fired.
message, A
Like-
wave of tension immediately appears. They sense something unusual in the wording. A kind of invisible coldness. They feel the atmosphere of the sender and instantly begin questioning themselves. Is my boss upset? Did I mess something up? They don't just hear words. They notice the 3-second pause before someone compliments the shirt they're wearing. They catch up.
On some real shit, this is why in the workplace environment, I'm the type of person that keeps a track of every bad thing I've done or like step over the rule, like line over the rules to where I'm like, okay, realistically, I know some of the things I do can get me, written up. But that's not going to get me fired. Hey, look, I'm aware of what I did and how I did it, but you're not going to get me fired over something I know I didn't do just because you're trying to push it. Yeah, people, it should make you feel like you're crazy, quite honestly. Like, not knowing what to do, not having your own formulas of how to look and understand society, especially coming from the hyper-vigilant mindset of it. It's just like having those survival instincts and then trying to put them to every other environment. It can be hard with the amount of different factors going out through that environment, whether it be work, home, just going out in public, whatever.
Slight change in the other person's breathing. Part of this phenomenon is related to the activity of the default mode network, DMN, the brain system involved in reflection and self-referential thinking.
Okay.
In most people, the DMN becomes active mainly during daydreaming or rest. But in people who are overly aware, this network tends to be more active, which makes the mind slip into constant analysis and interpretation. Half of them is nodding, smiling, holding a cup of coffee, and participating in life.
Two entirely
But the other
different people.
half is taking notes, comparing details, and analyzing everything. The result is that their mind rarely gets any real rest. They can feel exhausted even after spending the whole day sitting in an office, because their brain has just
how did
finished
you
running
literally
a
like just
marathon.
let go and not care about
That
things
analysis
you're
does
so
not
aware
only
of?
point outward, it turns the camera inward, creating sign 2, hyper self-awareness. In psychology, metacognition is the ability to
after you're burnt down the can,
point outward, it turns the marathon. That analysis does not only point outward, it turns the camera inward, creating sign 2, hyper self-awareness. In psychology, metacognition is the ability to think about your own thinking. It is controlled by the prefrontal cortex.
How is that so
Everyone
scary,
has
bro?
this ability, but for them, it is a switch that never turns off.
Okay.
They do not just feel an emotion, they monitor it. The familiar chain reaction often looks like this. An emotion appears, followed by analyze it, and then judge it. They are walking outside and suddenly feel sad. Instead of simply letting themselves feel sad, they immediately cross their arms and start judging themselves. Why am I sad? Does this sadness even make sense? I should feel grateful because I have a good job, so why do I feel empty?
I don't know, that's dead-ass me when it comes to making YouTube videos,
Even
yo.
though it's dissected. They are at a dinner party and just laughed at a joke, but the very next second, part of their mind is floating near the ceiling, looking down and evaluating, did I laugh too loudly? That might have sounded a little fake. It is just like dancing while constantly staring at your reflection in a mirror to fix your posture. They may not miss a single step, but they lose the sense of flow. Their depth of awareness increases, but their natural presence slowly disappears. When that analytical camera runs for too long, they move into sign 3, losing innocence in relationships. Deep awareness makes them start to see the backstage of human behavior.
Okay.
Psychology calls this strong inference about other people's intentions.
I feel like it's about to fuck me up,
ability
low-key.
known as theory of mind. They realize that people do not always say exactly what they think.
This is
they
true.
see a coworker bring them a coffee and praise the project they just completed. Instead of simply enjoying the compliment, their brain immediately scans possible motives. What favor does this person want? Are they hoping I'll share customer data
What's the
with them?
intent, realistically?
They
Like,
realize that
a lot of people
kindness
aren't nice
sometimes
just to be
comes
nice, so
with
it's just
conditions.
like,
Affection can sometimes
not
be
aware.
a calculated investment. And the confidence of a man on a date might simply be a curtain hiding his fear of rejection. This creates a quiet kind of loss. It is not the loss of childhood innocence, but the loss of relational innocence. The ability to fully trust the surface of words is no longer there. As a result, a compliment always seems to carry layers. An apology never feels complete because they suspect the other person is apologizing just to calm the situation, not because they truly accept fault. A promise sounds fragile. They do not become bitter or hateful toward the world. They simply become extremely cautious. And sometimes they feel lonely, even in a crowd, because no one else seems to see the layer of truth they are seeing. And that layer of truth is not just logical reasoning. It sinks into their feelings, leading to sign 4, empathy that is always switched on. For them, empathy is not a skill they choose to use when a friend is crying. It is a state that cannot be turned off. They walk into a meeting room, no one says a word, but they can feel the weight of irritation between two coworkers. Their mind works like a sheet of absorbent paper. Psychology calls this ability cognitive empathy. But for people who are overly aware, it does not stop at understanding with the mind. It crosses into emotional empathy, where they actually absorb and live inside another person's pain as if it were their own. This phenomenon is closely connected to neural systems that process empathy, especially mirror neurons. When they see someone expressing emotion, these neurons in their brain activate as if they themselves are experiencing that same emotion.
You think like this is like a superpower, but
person, it becomes absorption.
It's real. I feel like when it comes to like really seeing the aspect of human connection and all the layers that we could possibly connect on, like, yeah, we got sexual relationships and, you know, just all relationships we do have. A lot of, especially the big interest I've been having is definitely with sapiosexual relationships, like of intelligence of the mind, just growing mind, you know, intellect in general. So each person is on the same playing field. Like, there's no real monopoly on information, on what people know and what people should know. So the fact that some of us are so much, like, some of us have, like, so much bigger ignorant gaps than others, I feel like at that point it's just a person's inability to want to learn and want to grow, you know, actually study things and understand the things behind why the world works in the way that it does.
Energy, and suddenly their own heart starts beating faster. A friend talks about their divorce, and after they go home, that pain sits in their chest for 3 days.
I'm so glad I've let this go.
They become the emotional regulator for everyone around them. They know how to soften their voice and choose careful words to calm the atmosphere. People like being around them because they feel understood, but the price is exhaustion. They become a container for other people's emotional waste. And at the end of the day, very few people realize that the one who always understands others also needs someone to understand them. Those suppressed emotions do not disappear. They move straight into the body. Sign 5. When awareness becomes tied to the body and anxiety. Awareness does not exist only in the mind. Science calls this concept interoception. The ability to sense the internal state of the body, processed by the insular cortex. People who are overly aware often have an extremely sensitive interoception system. They drink a cup.
You know, I was actually talking about this, and I didn't really think that there was a part of the brain connected to how I felt in my body, but now I'm understanding the older that I'm getting, the older that, you know, not only in terms like homeostasis, like the ability your body is able to regulate at on what it thinks is best for the environmental regulations, not generally your brain. It's just, you could trick that entirely to thinking that alcohol is good for you, that weed, what do you think withdrawals happen? Realistically, put that in your body and think. So if you naturally do cleaner, healthier things, your body will start to build cleaner, healthier habits. You'll just be a cleaner, healthier person because your brain will recognize that as well as your body. And that's why I've been thinking, I feel like it's more homeostasis for the body than you got equilibrium for your brain. And it just all breaks down into some kind of equal balance on all sorts of life. But hey, like, no reason to get into complicated subjects right now. Even it's a psychology video, but
their heart beats a little faster because of the caffeine. For most people, that simply feels like alertness. But for their nervous system, the brain detects the faster heartbeat, flips through its data records, and shouts, "Fast heartbeat equals danger.
That's interesting.
We're about to have a panic attack." Normal physical sensations become exaggerated warning signals. This creates a brutal anxiety loop. A physical sensation appears. Then, the brain misinterprets it as danger. Then, the body activates a stress response and releases hormones like cortisol, which leads to even stronger physical sensations. The result is that their body becomes a constant stream of emergency data. They feel restless and uneasy all the time, even when nothing truly bad is happening. When signals from the body and emotions become overwhelming, the mind starts searching for one final escape to restore order. That is when awareness quietly transforms from a lens of observation into a strategy of control. This is not control over others in a forceful way. It is a subtle inner defense mechanism. They operate based on an unspoken belief. If they can predict every possible variable, they will not be surprised by pain. For them, understanding becomes a kind of armor.
That's real.
They believe that seeing the landing point of disappointment ahead of time will prevent them from collapsing when it finally arrives.
But it's
their mind
still
begins running simulations non-stop, quietly and endlessly in the background. They ask themselves, what if that person suddenly pulls away? What if everything they are working so hard to build disappears tomorrow? If the worst situation really happens, how should they react so they do not fall apart? This leads to a state called analysis paralysis. They get trapped inside a maze of assumptions, living in 10 different versions of the future while dissecting every possible risk, even when the
fucking stings. You don't know how bad it stings to like have your mind be read word for word with thoughts that you actually went through and had. And yeah, it's shit that I've thought about and created like different mindsets to get over at this point, and like it's a point I've passed, but like at the same time, it's like shit. I know majority of people won't end up getting out of that cycle or will die in that cycle, will lose their life in some way, shape, or form, because you know that's. My phone died. I did not check my phone percentage between videos. I'm over here recording. It was my third 20-minute video, so it was like an hour. I was on like 50% when I started, so that's on me. Yeah, I think all I was saying was just like it's crazy to get rid of, like, but some people will die in that cycle, you know, and it's just like it's sad to see because that's like where your survival lies. Like, you know, survival of the fittest, you know, and people would just refuse to evolve. And realistically, you know what, we're getting into an entirely different conversation. Let me go ahead and play the video.
That vigilance keeps them from ever fully belonging to the present. The cruelest result of this protective strategy is the trade-off it creates. In trying to stay ahead of pain, they slowly step outside their own life. Instead of participating in the flow of life with all its uncertainty and beauty, they begin managing life like a high-risk project. Protection replaces presence, leaving them exhausted from constantly guarding against the ghosts of the future. So what can overly aware people do? They cannot simply turn off their awareness. It is like asking someone with perfect vision to try to see everything as blurry. The solution is not to become less aware. The solution is to stop carrying everything. In psychotherapy, this usually involves setting emotional boundaries and adjusting patterns of thinking. They need to learn how to notice things, but refuse to absorb them. People who manage to move beyond this burden often anchor themselves in 3 freeing principles. First, not every silence is a hidden message. If someone replies slowly to a text, sometimes they are simply exhausted. If a coworker walks past without smiling, maybe they just have a headache. They learn not to personalize everything. Second, not every emotion that appears needs an action to solve it. Anxiety may show up. Instead of rushing to analyze why, they simply say, "Oh, my heart is beating fast. It's just a physical sensation." They observe it without judgment and let it pass. Third, not every insight needs to be spoken or acted on. They may see someone's insecurity clearly, but they do not have to become that person's therapist.
This is all true.
They may notice instability in a relationship, and sometimes the best response is simply to step back.
You don't have to be a sponge anymore.
They begin to realize that clarity is only a gift when it comes with boundaries, knowing what belongs to them to handle and what belongs to the world to leave alone. When they practice this kind of letting go, something remarkable begins to happen. Their awareness does not disappear. It softens. It matures. They still see deeply into human nature, but they no longer cling to the flaws of others. They can still feel the energy of a room very strongly, but they are no longer pulled into its current. The shift happens inside them. They move from using awareness to predict to using it to be present. They move from fear to curiosity. Instead of analyzing whether someone's smile is fake, they simply enjoy a sunny afternoon and a good cup of coffee. Their life finally becomes lighter, not because the outside world becomes simpler or because people suddenly become less complicated. The world is still full of contradictions. Life becomes lighter because they stop trying to carry every equation of the world on their shoulders at the same time. They cannot turn off the ceiling light in their mind, but they can change its intensity. They can turn it from a sharp laser that exposes every flaw into a warm candle. A candle bright enough to understand human fragility, yet gentle enough to warm themselves as well. These are the people who think deeply, the people who feel deeply. If you ever look at them and notice their quietness, understand that it is not indifference. It is a beautiful form of wisdom, a wisdom that has learned to understand life instead of being imprisoned by it. If this feels familiar, if you see yourself somewhere in the world of overly aware people, leave a comment about the sign that fits you the most. And remember, you are not
all of it, unfortunately.
The depth you carry is not a flaw. It is a gift that is waiting for your understanding and compassion. If this video helped you feel a little lighter and gave you a new way to see yourself, please press like and share it with a friend. Someone who may also be tired of the noise from a mind that never truly rests. Your understanding today might be exactly the comfort they need. Thank you for watching until this moment.
That was a very interesting video. More interesting on the point because it's all just, you know, factual evidence that's been proven to be psychologically true. So this is the way that, awareness works. And a lot of this is like a lot of social bases, like in the real world. And I feel like a bigger thing that's like going from taking it from more of a doctor's perspective, coming from a real person, right? Who's experienced shit like this, who's gone through things like this, can completely understand exactly what he means by the video, but also has reached a level to where I can like actually explain to myself as to how I got past those points in time. And really it's just a thing of like letting go. Like, and like I said, just specifically knowing when to let go, just discernment. If you're going to be aware and notice everything at all, like in general, you have to know what's worth shining and putting on the shelf and what's worth throwing away and putting in the trash. Realistically, like things like analogies really heavily help me out a lot. Like just making it into like, you know, certain things that I can understand better, like as to just stripping them out. And also just not getting a big head about being the most aware, because at some point you can start to see unaware people or people who aren't capable as things that you are, or just seeing things that you have been as some form of ignorant, and then you start to push other people out in the ability to actually want to grow beside others. Nobody's their own, but like everybody's their own person. Everybody's their own individual. Everybody has their own routes in life. Everybody wants their own things. So when you get to a desire or want in your brain, ask yourself, is your awareness happy to the fact that we're aware of that and can start working on it into a practical way? Or are you going to keep it more idealistic and less putting it towards the fields of reality, to where it can be on a more realistic basis, to where you can stop driving yourself crazy and actually giving yourself like, oh, this is my next step. Now I can keep, making one foot forward because there's actually a ground and a path to walk on. And this is with any event, any thought part. Like if you have a shit going on with your parents, a significant other, yourself internally, let it go. And like discern if it actually matters and let it go, because if it's not life or death, if it's not actually going to take you off of this planet, if it's not going to blow up, the entire fucking room, then why be so stressed and anxious about it? You got time to think it out. You got options. There's always something. And if not, please just don't go for the other route. Y'all know what I'm saying. But like, come talk to me. Come talk to your boy. Leave a comment on the section. But I promise y'all, my grammar is gonna get better. I'm just not used to talking on these videos. Yeah, come comment on your boy video. Hit me up in the DMs. I'll have my Instagram. It should be in my channel. So if y'all want to follow the Instagram, y'all need some psychological evaluation type shit. You feel me? I can be your psychiatrist and your therapist. I may not charge you. Let me know. Nah, but honestly, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If y'all did, let me know if y'all would like to watch any other videos like this. It was from Apex Psychology, and he has plenty other videos that are just, all about, I'm sure, just psychology. And, for my psychology people out there who love the study of the brain, who love the study of everything behind everything, I'm open to watching any more videos as there all are. So just drop them in the comment section below. We'll get to them as quick as I can. But like I said, I hope y'all enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.